Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Turning Point Podcast. This is episode number 29. I'm one of your hosts, Lara, and I am joined by Lewin once again. How you doing, my friend?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad. You got me sipping a bit of water there. A bit of H2O.
You thought you could just palm it off onto me. No, I fire it back.
No, I've been not too bad, to be honest. Yeah. It's late on a Saturday night. Doctor Who. Docky Who.
Who's?
Yeah, the recent one. The Power of the Doctor. That's what we're here to talk about.
God damn, remember how we said we were going to talk about all the specials and then the other two specials turned out meh.
It doesn't matter. We don't need to talk about that shit. It's fine. Fuck it right off. Like, who
Only
cares?
one of them I would actually say was proper shit, and that was Legend of the Sea Devils. Probably my least favourite episode of Doctor Who ever, and I hate Kill the Moon.
Yeah, Kill the Moon's actually good, though. Compared to Legend of the Sea Devils.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, that's like top tier fucking Doctor Who, mate. Like, that's the best of the best compared to that. I'm going to say this about Power of the Doctor before we get into the nitty gritty of it. I'm going to say this about Power of the Doctor. It is good for a Chibnall era episode.
It's brilliant for a Chibnall era episode, really.
Especially for a Chibnall script.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing.
Yeah. In terms of the larger Doctor Who, it's not that good. At all. Like, it's got moments, but it's not that good. But in terms of Chibnall Doctor Who, it's really good. Surprisingly good. It is both simultaneously better than I was expecting, but also exactly what I was expecting at the same time.
That's accurate. That's very accurate.
Like, it's a mess of just shit happening. It somehow worked. Like, I don't know how, because the plot makes no fucking sense whatsoever.
Honestly, if you got me to... I'm not going to do it, because it's been a while since I saw the episode, because I didn't get the chance to watch it again. But if you got me to do what I did...
Oh yeah, tell me what the plot is. Tell me what the plot is. Oh yeah, we're gonna do that. By the way, you're gonna get to do that. Tell me what you think the plot was. This is
gonna be way more segmented. Do you want me to go now?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
okay.
Just it doesn't have to be like beat for beat. Like this happens. Just the basic plot. Like, what is the plot of this?
Okay, well,
what do you think it is?
Okay, so it starts off with a bullet train in space that's getting taken over by Cybermen, and this is important because we learned that the Master escaped with the Cybermen, even though we already knew this, but that's fine. They regenerate now, they fly now.
They got spikes now.
And they got sick-ass head guards. They living up that stuffy Gallifreyan lifestyle.
Even the ones that didn't have their head guards had Gallifreyan on their helmets.
Honestly, the design of the Sidemasters was pretty sick. I won't lie.
It was certainly better than what it was last time we saw them.
100%. Then the whole reason they're attacking is to steal a girl.
Who isn't a girl?
But
it's just this fucking, I don't know,
blob. But it's like
one of the greatest mysteries of the universe.
You get there and you're like, oh, is that the timeless child? You'll soon learn. No, because that's completely forgotten. Thank God, even Chibnall forgot it. The Doctor jumps out of the TARDIS using a ladder. Dan almost gets fucking shot in the face, and so he's like, oh no.
I'm gonna leave.
He's like, oh.
And then he leaves.
Life ain't worth living. What's the point of living if not to die?
Or whatever it is he says something, he says a bunch of words, and then the Doctor doesn't even say goodbye to him. The Doctor's just like, lol,
grumpy.
See ya.
Yeah. The Doctor gets really angsty and grumpy because Dan's like, you know what, I don't want to die, and leaves. His house is still shrunk, though. That's a nice bit of continuity. So, it cuts to Ace. No, it cuts to Ace, the Seventh Doctor's companion. We don't need to explain this here. Anybody who's watching this either doesn't care or knows this already.
Yeah, Ace and Tegan, they're talking on the phone.
Ace and Tegan are talking on the phone. Tegan's like, "Oh, the Doctor left me as the fucking Cyberman figurine because that's."
Also, this scene has some really unnatural dialogue. The dialogue of specifically the bit where Tegan's like, oh, I haven't seen the Doctor in 4 decades. And then Ace is like, oh, show off just because it's only been 3 decades for me. I'm like, no one talks like that. Like that, like no one talks like that.
No one talks like that. It also throws out 3 decades of Ace's continuity. But that's okay. We don't care about that anymore. Ace's continuity is messier than the Doctor's origin story. They're like, oh no, the paintings are missing, and Tegan's like, oh, I got a Cyberman from the Doctor. What a strange gift. And then somebody, I think, goes up to Ace. I can't fucking remember. I think someone goes up to Ace. It's like, hey, yo, unit.
That doesn't happen.
Doesn't it? What happens? No. I can't remember what happens.
No, literally, this is all that happens. Ace just says to Tegan, I think we should go in.
Oh, okay.
That's it.
Right.
So I guess they work for Unit, I guess.
Which is weird, because if you follow any bit of Ace's continuity, she has a charitable Earth, but again, doesn't matter. What does matter here is the Doctor... Oh, fucking hell, what happens after that? Dan goes, they go to Unit.
Oh, they go to the Cybermen planet, and then they're like, oh, look, that creature is a big blob tentacle thing. And then the Cybermen turn up and are like...
you can't investigate.
Yeah, basically, I know this is you explaining the plot, but I'm just doing this just to speed it up a bit so we can get through the whole plot of this, because it's there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, it is 90
so
minutes
yeah,
long.
so the Cybermen are like, oh, blah 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 blah. Your master awaits, and then the Doctor's like, what does that mean? As if she needs to ask, what does that mean? And then they run back in the TARDIS, and then Kate Stewart randomly calls the TARDIS, is like, hey, we need you. And the Doctor's like, oh, lol, can it wait? And Kate's like, no, can't wait, bitch. And then that's when the Doctor goes to Unit.
And meets Ace and Tegan. And Ace and Tegan have a really angsty moment where they're just like, you forgot, Tegan specifically.
Specifically.
Is like, oh, I waited 40 years for you, 38 years, and the Doctor's like, oh, that's a bit rubbish, I'm sorry. And then immediately goes and becomes friendly with Ace again. And then they have a moment where they tell Yaz that she's going to end up exactly like them, old and embittered by the fact that the Doctor left. Which obviously leaves an impression on Ace. On Yaz.
They literally do nothing with that.
There's a lot of inferring as to why Yaz won as easily as she did, but
it's literally the reason why. Okay, so look, listen, I'm more than happy to accept Yaz decided to leave because, she didn't want to be with the next Doctor who isn't the Doctor that she supposedly fell in love with.
Yeah,
I'm more than happy to just accept that. But in terms of the actual reasoning in the show of her leaving, it's literally boils down to nothing more than the Doctor saying to Yaz, your contract is up. And that's it. That's it. Like, the Doctor's like, oh, I'm going to do this next bit alone. Why? Why do you need to do it alone for? And Yaz is just like, okay.
So the master is now Rasputin. I won't let that sit.
Rasputin.
Yep, Rasputin. That entire plotline only exists so the master can dance to Rasputin and a Dalek and a Cyberman can look at each other and go, what the fuck? Honestly, the best.
Honestly, that's based. That's a based Dalek right there.
There's a Dalek that's like, hey, yeah, I'm a traitor to my kind because they aren't the true Dalek ideologically
something or other.
They don't agree.
And then the Doctor's like, lol, I haven't seen this before.
Even though Rusty existed 3 seasons ago.
Even though, like, it's happened, like the idea of a Dalek betraying other Daleks has happened multiple times.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Dalek Khan.
Dalek Khan, like, I mean, even if you want to go Dalek Sec.
Dalek Sec, I'm sure multiple Daleks betrayed other Daleks in A, Revolution of the Daleks, and B, any episode that had the two factions of Daleks with the Imperials and Davros' fucking army. But that's classic or whatever. Even though this episode is drenched in classic Who.
The Doctor's just like, lol, this is new, never seen this before.
People only started watching this at Series 11.
I mean, to be honest, if you've seen 13 Stands on Twitter, they have only started watching this since Series 11.
Man, they're going to be so surprised when they go back and find out that there's another whole 50 years to this show.
Oh yeah, most of them probably have never watched any of the rest of it.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet that that's true. But the whole Rasputin setup, which did include the real dance scene, I wasn't lying, and then the Master's like, oh yeah, forced regeneration, you know what that's like, let me force it on you again. And so the Master regenerates the Doctor into the Master. It's fucking fantastic. Love the Doctor Master. Something about the Master's Doctor plan or saying, oh yeah, and a fucking Dalek in a volcano happened at some point.
Yeah, Graham shows up.
Graham shows up in a fucking volcano. Ryan is in Panna Cotta or something, someplace don't repeat.
Ryan is just somewhere because Tosin Cole is like, nah, you know what, I'm good. I don't need to come.
He's got a fucking career in America now. He doesn't want to come back to the place he got yelled at for being bad. Then
I like how we just skipped like a large portion of this story. And you know what? I'm not going to fill in the blanks. Let's just keep going.
The Master now has kidnapped Yaz into the TARDIS in what is almost a Stockholm Syndrome going to become fan fiction thing later. The Master's like, I'm going to wear all the Doctor's clothes and blame these two planetary orbs that are firing upon each other, because I mentioned that earlier.
Did he? Fuck if I know. I just thought that was completely random. I was like, why the fuck are we here? Like, what's going on here?
Oh no, because he comes out of the TARDIS, sees the weird fucking camera. I've never seen Galactic News ever do anything about the Doctor, ever. But apparently, for once they were on site, and the Master's like, I'm the Doctor, and I did this, as planet Earth is getting annihilated in 1916 by the Cyberman planet.
Are we sure that's what that is? Because I don't think that's what that is.
What, you don't reckon the firing upon was...
No, because that doesn't happen in the story, like, at all.
It does.
Yeah, but not then.
Yeah, I don't fucking know when it happened. It happened some point in the 90 minutes after.
Does it? Because all I know is it shoots a big laser at the Earth. And then that laser...
a point where it's bombarding... I swear there's a point where it's bombarding Earth.
I don't think it...
I swear to God, it's a thing.
It doesn't matter. Who cares? But I'm pretty sure it doesn't happen.
I'm almost certain it is. But...
Unless maybe it's in a future where that does happen, because it doesn't happen in the episode. Like, it shoots lasers at the volcanoes.
Yeah, I remember that happening, but I also remember...
But that's the Doctor shooting the lasers at the volcanoes, and then the only other thing that planet does in the whole story is shoot lasers, a laser into the thing so the Doctor could regenerate into the Master. That's the only thing that planet does the entire time.
And then I swear it starts bombarding Earth, but whatever.
No, it doesn't happen.
Anyway,
I've seen this episode twice, and I've watched a lot of reactions to this, and I am pretty sure that doesn't happen.
You better damn
well. But do you know what's interesting about this?
What?
Do you know what's interesting about what I'm saying here? Is I've seen this episode twice. I've watched a lot of reactions, and I can tell you for a fact that I am not 100% sure that it doesn't happen. I am pretty sure, but it's possible.
Anyway, the Master's wearing like an ensemble of all the Doctor's best clothes. Honestly, the Master Doctor, 10 out of 10. Brilliant. Also, he makes the pun of it's the Master's Dalek plan. And honestly, 10 out of 10.
Reference.
Chibnall somehow...
Reference.
Fan service in this episode was bananas. It was great.
Yeah. And I usually hate fan service.
Honestly, in an
I don't
episode
hate
where it
fan
was only
service.
fan service, it did great.
I don't hate fan service. I just hate when fan service is pointless and it's just there for the sake of it. Like, I feel like the fan service in this episode was well done.
I feel like it was well done purely because...
Apart from some lines of dialogue, like the Master does say at one point, I dress for the occasion, and I'm like, ha, I get that reference.
I missed that. Does he actually?
Yeah. It's when he captures the Doctor. It's like one of the first things he says to the Doctor.
Oh fuck! I'm so sad that
he
He
points out that he's dressed as Rasputin, and he's like, "I dress for the occasion."
Oh, which is even better because the Master's plan in that moment was to take over the Doctor's body in the movie. Fuck, that was actually, damn it.
Yep.
That's great.
Top 10 things missed. Doctor Who Power of the Doctor. Number 1.
It's so bad that I actually love this episode because I just love this episode.
Yeah, like I said, like this is a good episode and it has a lot of great moments. But yeah, anyway, so the Doctor's the Master's the Doctor
now.
Yeah,
Vinda,
but also like it's not like it's a new incarnation of the Master that's like the Doctor. It's like literally the Master is the Doctor and the Doctor is just gone.
Yeah, the Doctor's been put into her own... has been put into literally the Death Zone. Not the Death Zone, that's an already existing concept, I can't say that. Into the Edge, I think that's actually its name.
Yeah, the Guardians of the Edge.
Literally a fucking fantastic concept. I love that concept to hell. Only because it gave me Paul McGann back. Oh yeah, so the 13 is like, oh yep, well, no idea where I am. I'm in a wasteland of a cliff. And then David Bradley's like, the first Doctor's like, hey, you're determined. Most of us would be dead by now. And everyone gives her the pep talk of...
Yeah, she just has a little bit of a chit-chat.
Yeah, she has a little bit of chit-chat and it's like, oh yeah.
With herself.
It can get better.
All of her. Yeah. And she's also wearing her better outfit.
Oh yeah, the black one is so much better.
Yeah.
And people are like, her previous selves are like, hey, yeah, this is where people, when you go over this edge when you're ready to change into the next person, hand over the baton. It's like, so she's like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Now, I wonder if it's only older incarnations that can be Guardians of the Edge, because like maybe it's like the Force. You know, maybe it's like only... I mean, to be honest, I don't think the Guardians of the Edge isn't a real thing. Like, it's just the Doctor's consciousness manifesting itself as the different incarnations.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know, I find it interesting that it is only classic Doctors, and Chibnall's explanation for that is because he knew what the plans for the 60th were, which is why he didn't include any modern Doctors.
That's a lie, but okay.
Which is a lie, because he also previously said that he wrote the script for this before he even knew RTD was returning.
Which would have been before anyone knew David Tennant was returning.
But yeah, it was a nice surprise. And I think with the Guardians of the Edge especially, I think if you're gonna bring back classic Doctors, this was the best way to do it, because...
When I first heard all the rumours about 5, 6, and 7 being in the episode, I was like, how the heck? Because, like, it wasn't just, like, archive
how are they
footage or
gonna do
anything. It was, like, they were on set filming. I'm like, how are they gonna... There's a very noticeable difference in all those actors now.
It's a great way to bring them back, but without making it a multi-Doctor story.
Yeah, it was, like, it has all the heart of a multi-Doctor story, but it didn't have to be one. And we still got some other Doctors in there, at least in a similar kind of vein.
Mm-hmm. Because Peter Davison and both Sylvester McCoy have their little scenes.
Yeah, the heart-to-heart with Tegan and Ace. And to be fair, from a character standpoint, the 7 and Ace one was not good.
I think if you have that scene in isolation on its own, I actually think it's a good scene. However,
yeah.
I don't like the idea of Ace and the 7th Doctor falling out for undisclosed reasons.
To be fair, if you go through like the actual history, like the extended universe, it's not undisclosed at all. It's very obvious why they fell out.
Yeah, but like the episode doesn't explain it. The episode's just like lol. Like the episode's like,
We
oh
fell
yeah,
out. We're
well, I'm
friends.
sorry we fell out. Sorry about that. Lol. Like it's just like okay. I mean, I get it's not the focus of the episode, and obviously I know why they did that. Obviously that's
Yeah.
why they did explain it. But like, it was still just this thing of like, fuck off. To be honest with you, I only vaguely remember Tegan's departure.
I think she just says it stopped being fun. Like, I think that's her...
Yeah, that's the only thing I remember of it. And now, I can't remember if she was forced to do anything in that story by the Doctor that she didn't agree with. Like, I
don't think so. I think it's purely just because Adric died.
Yeah, but it happens like 2 seasons later.
Does it happen 2 seasons later? I thought...
Yeah, it happens in season 20. 21. Whichever one is... Because Adric leaves and Tegan's still there for like another 2 seasons.
Is she? I know Nissa
Because Nissa leaves. No, Nissa
leaves.
leaves.
The one that leaves?
Nissa leaves in Enlightenment. I think that's what it's called. The third one in that trilogy. She leaves in that story, and that's the story that introduces Turlo. And then in the following season, Tegan leaves in the Dalek story, and then Turlo leaves in Planet of the Fire after that. And then the Fifth Doctor leaves after that in the following story.
And then there's still another episode in that season, and it's Colin Baker's worst.
Vinder's in this episode.
Vinder saves the Doctor, kind of.
Yeah, Vinder shoots the Doctor, the Master Doctor.
Yeah.
And then they basically use... Joe Martin pops in for a great little scene, and then they use the regeneration energy from the Cybermen to change the Doctor back into the Doctor and force her... And I think it's like, I guess, the first time... It's the first time, I guess, we've actually seen a degeneration.
Yeah, because technically it is an
screen.
incarnation going back to a previous incarnation.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And it's not like at the end where Jodie Whittaker turns into David Tennant.
Yeah, no.
It's actually like, no, this incarnation is reverting back to Jodie Whittaker's incarnation. Although, if you want to think about it, you could also say that, like, the Master Doctor is one incarnation, and then Jodie Whittaker's final incarnation is like another incarnation after that before David Tennant. But like at this point, who cares? Like it's the whole Doctor's thing. Like the Doctor is just a mess at this point anyway. So it doesn't matter.
The Doctor gets reverted back because Vinder helps out a bit. And then
Jodie Whittaker looks absolutely fantastic in that outfit, I'm gonna say.
Yep.
But I also thought she looked fantastic in Peter Capaldi's outfit as well.
She does, though. Everyone thinks that.
Yeah, I actually think both of these outfits are better than her actual outfit.
I think literally every alternative outfit she's worn in the series, even just the color inverted one, is better than her normal outfit.
Yeah, but they're still like her normal outfits though. Like I like when I think of a female Doctor, I want her to actually dress the same way as every other Doctor. Not like big bag, like make it feminine to a point, obviously, but like I don't know. I've never been a fan of Jodie's outfit. I just don't think it looks great. I don't like the shirt. I don't like. I don't mind the coat. I like the coat with the hood, but she never used the hood ever. The Master used the hood, and she didn't. But yet the hood was all over the promotional images back in Series 11. Remember the promotional image of her with the hood on and the sonic screwdriver, and she never used the hood once.
A more iconic duo. It's because the sonic screwdriver stole all the limelight. There was contract disputes, and the sonic screwdriver was like, I want all the screen time. And so they had to, just fire the hood.
Yeah. And the sonic screwdriver does light up quite a bit too. So I mean, it is only fair, I think.
It's only fair. So the Doctor, after getting forced degenerate back into being 13, is like, okay, let's go save the girl blob.
The girl blob.
The girl blob. And while she's
we have the end of Journey's End.
We do.
Again, just not as good because it's about a bunch of characters we don't care about.
Like, we cared about
and I'm including Ace and Tegan in that, by the way, because like no one who is watching this episode who's actually really into it knows who Tegan and Ace are, so they don't give a shit about them.
Yeah.
And then for us, we don't give a shit about anyone else in that TARDIS. Also, Kate Stewart it acts like it's the first time she's in the TARDIS when she was literally dropped off in the TARDIS in flux. But she's all like, "Oh my god, I've never been in the TARDIS before."
Oh, that takes away from that moment so much.
And then she's like, "Oh, me? I can go in the TARDIS?" She goes in the TARDIS, and she's like, "Wait, how is it bigger on the inside?" I'm like, "Bitch, you already you've done this. You've done this."
I completely forgot about the flux moment. That's so sad, because I was about to mention that I really liked that moment.
Yeah, in a script that is written by Chris Chibnall.
God damn it.
Sorry, I ruined that for you.
God damn it. So they go to the planet, or set off the girl blob, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's a rushed ending. Like,
Yeah.
basically the ending for this, like, and this is I genuinely cannot believe Chris Chibnall had an hour and a half, and
To
yet
set
we
up how
still
the Doctor
have
was.
a rushed ending.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not talking about, like, the whole end bit with the scenes leading into it. I'm talking about the resolution
Yeah, no,
to
the resolution of
plot.
literally everything doesn't make sense.
It's literally, the Doctor says a bunch of words. None of it makes sense. Like, absolutely nothing she says makes sense. It's just a bunch of words, and then the plot is done.
Yeah, so the Doctor's like, okay, yeah, there was a volcano thing. The Doctor's like, okay, plugged up the volcanoes, they won't blow up anymore.
Yep.
And then
Yep.
goes to save the girl blob, and then the Rasputin Master comes back and is like, oh, it's not over, and then uses girl blob to laser the 13.
Laser 13 in the face.
And that's officially how 13 dies.
I like how 13's, like, not damaged in any way. Like, no damage to her clothing, no, like, dirt on the face or nothing. She
Yaz
just
looks
fine.
like she's gone through more hell than 13 after 13 got hit by a laser.
Yeah. Yeah, 13 gets hit by a fucking laser, and she's just fine. Like, I know she's not fine. I know she's,
That's
like...
literally how she died, but she looks fine. Yaz marriage handles 13 into the TARDIS. 13 wakes up the way Rose did once upon a time. It's like, what happened? And then Yaz is like,
can just fly the TARDIS
yeah.
now.
Yaz is like, I took everyone home. Or Croydon. Nice callback.
That was a nice callback, yes.
And then,
But also, Yaz can just fly the TARDIS now. In the same episode, she couldn't pilot the TARDIS. She had to get out the TARDIS manual and put a bunch of stick-it notes everywhere.
it's that
and then
easy
she
to
could-
fly the TARDIS.
Apparently, it's that easy
Which
to pilot the
makes
TARDIS.
no fucking sense, because all the sticky notes were in the one place when the Doctor has explicitly said several times that it's meant to be flown by 6 people.
Can we also talk about how we've gone back to an era where the Master's TARDIS is literally just the Doctor's TARDIS, but slightly different?
Ha 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 ha.
Like, I actually really like that, because it's something so absurd about classic Doctor Who. You know, it was always, like, the case of, like, whenever it came to the Master's TARDIS, they just used the same set, but they just made it slightly different. Like, for example, like, in the Time Monster, the Master's TARDIS is exactly the same as the Doctor's, except the time rotor's just different. But the console's the same, the walls are the same, every aspect of it is exactly the same. And then if you, like, skip forward to the 80s, the Master's TARDIS is just the 80s TARDIS, but black.
So,
and yeah, anyways, so
Yaz-
the Doctor's dying.
And Yaz is like, oh, what happens next? And the Doctor's like, oh,
Your contract is up.
I need to do this alone. And Yaz is like, oh, okay.
Okay.
And the Doctor, they go for ice cream.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
And then that's it for Yaz. She gets dropped off back on Earth.
Yeah. And then we have the Graham starts a companion support group.
That is a fantastic concept and scene. I love that scene because Ian.
Oh yeah, we're gonna come back to it.
Okay, we're coming back. All right, good. Because then 13 goes off to a cliff, regenerates outside the TARDIS. It looks phenomenal, even though it's all green screen.
And then
What?
David Tennant appears
Yay!
in a twist that no one saw coming,
If you hadn't been
except literally everyone.
no, you'd be fucking amazed.
Do you know what's interesting about this? I mean, yeah, okay, like, obviously we didn't know who the Doctor was going to read, whether the Doctor was going to regenerate into David Tennant or Ncuti Gatwa.
No, it's true, which is why I wanted to know nothing about this episode.
But do you know what's really interesting about this?
What?
Is for once the rumors were true. For once,
Oh.
every time, ever since David Tennant left, every time the Doctor regenerates, both with Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi, the rumors were always that there was rumors every time that David Tennant's gonna come back and play the next Doctor, and of course it never happened.
I love the way that, even though I'm very sad I didn't get to see David Tennant in Jodie Whittaker's clothes, I at least got Sasha Dewan.
We were robbed.
I at least got one person wearing them. That was all right. Thank you, Sasha Dewan, for taking the fall for that one.
I think that's obviously a very deliberate thing to have the Doctor's costume change as well at the same time, and that's what leads me to think that
It's intervention.
I definitely
by
think
Neil Patrick
I'm going to take a. Yeah, I think it's definitely interference with the regeneration. So I actually saw someone post an alternative theory, and that is something happens which causes Donna to start remembering, and as a result, as like, I don't know, some part of that, like someone's saying, like, as part of like that defense mechanism, like as the Doctor's regenerating, she senses that or some shit, and then that kind of interferes with the regeneration, forcing the Doctor to change back into Tennant. But because Donna doesn't quite remember everything, that's why David Tennant's Doctor has like a different outfit, like a different outfit, is a little older, that kind of thing, because she can't quite remember it. That's what I saw, an alternative theory as well.
You know,
out there that might be the case as well.
I'm gonna substitute my own, like it being based off Donna's memory, not like as a defense mechanism, but still, I'm gonna mix the two theories of the Celestial Toymaker and Donna, and have him interfering with the Doctor using Donna.
Yeah, and because Donna can't remember, it's like, that's why the Doctor's not
fuck
the
it.
10th
To throw my
Doctor.
own hand in the ring, I'm mixing the two.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually interesting, like, because his outfit is...
But it's
very 10th... It is 10th Doctor-esque, but it is very different. And we also see Ncuti Gatwa wearing part of that costume as well in the trailer. Someone tell me what the hell is going on here. I love the way he says TARDIS in his natural... I don't think he's going to be using his natural accent. I think he's going to be using his sex ed one.
Probably
I think, by the sounds of it.
His sex ed one.
God, his sex ed's so good. Okay, yeah, so anyway, that's the regeneration. So next year we're going to get some David Tennant specials in November. It's confirmed to be 3 specials now. And we're going to be getting a festive special, whether that's Christmas or New Year's, we don't know yet, but that'll be Ncuti Gatwa's first proper episode.
We got Davies back. We're getting Christmas back, damn it.
I generally feel like Russell is... I don't know, we're meant to be talking about the power of the Doctor. We'll go back to that in a bit. But, like, I feel like Russell is just approaching this with a whole big thing of enthusiasm. Because I definitely think... You know, because like I said back when they announced it, like I don't think Russell would come back unless he wanted to do something different. And while I don't get the sense immediately that that's what we're getting next year, it also makes sense.
I reckon.
Yeah, it also makes sense that we wouldn't get that next year because it is the 60th anniversary.
We don't need new things next year. Like,
yeah, but I definitely think, like, once we get to series 14, like, I think he's going to be going in a completely different direction. I reckon Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor is going to be very different to any of the previous Doctors. Like, I think it's going to go in a completely new direction.
It's like, hold on, let's a random...
Also, he has a moustache.
Damn straight. Fucking love Ncuti Gatwa as the Doctor, and I've only seen 20 seconds of him. Not even 20, like 5 seconds.
That's what's to come. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves there.
It's just so exciting.
Let's just jump back to Power of the Doctor and kind of wrap up that.
So Yes got fucked off.
Yeah, like we've been kind of saying, if you couldn't tell from our kind of just very quick plot breakdown, it is a mess of an episode.
We skipped
absolute mess. And we skipped the entire unit plotline with the Cyberman, Shard and the Cyberman and all of that.
Oh yeah,
shit.
the lone Cyberman's back, but we don't need to go into that anymore.
Yeah.
The Doctor's regenerated.
The Master cloned a Shard somehow
with armor. Have you seen? Have you seen the actor for a Shard outside? Yeah, you would have.
Yeah, I have, because I shared you that video.
Hell, I would not have expected him to look like that outside of the armor. That took me by surprise. Anyway, yeah.
He was in the episode. Some unit things happened. But it was just a lot of, like, here's this scene with this thing happening, and then here's this scene with this thing happening. And there wasn't really anything kind of actually connecting it. It was just kind of, this happens, then this happens, then this happens.
Normally you have an A plot and a B plot and sometimes a C plot, and they all intersect. This had an A to Z plot. There was the whole fucking alphabet.
Yeah, it just felt like Chibnall would just, like, literally threw a whole season's worth of stories into one episode.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying, like, he had an hour and a half, and he still had to rush the ending.
Yeah.
And the regeneration feels very tacked on. You know what I mean?
Like, it's an absolutely beautiful regeneration. Easily my favorite. Honestly.
Yeah, everything there, like, it's great. And I want to talk about that in isolation in a sec. Okay. But, like, it just feels tacked on, and the resolution feels rushed. Like, there's so much going on in this episode, and this is the longest episode of New Who, and, like, it baffles me how this still has a rushed ending.
Yeah.
And do you know what's funny is, an episode has too much in it, and an episode is just really badly written with too much going on, when I'm watching it in real time being like, you know what, you didn't need that, you could have just used this plot point and, like, nothing would be different. For example, what causes Jodie Whittaker's regeneration?
Fucking laser to the face.
You don't need that. You don't need it. You can get rid of all of that. Do you know what could cause her regeneration instead?
Literally, the forced degeneration was probably enough trauma.
The toll of forced regeneration and then being forced probably takes on her body. That's it. That's enough. Like that's a very unique way. Because I know the Doctor's been forced to regenerate before, but what I'm talking about is, like, you know how the Doctor, like, what the regeneration does to the Doctor's body, it kind of completely changes every cell, and the Doctor, it takes time for the Doctor to recover from that.
Typically,
right?
At least in New Who, anytime the Doctor recovers, and most of Classic Who, actually, I take it back, the Doctor's out of it. Like, and
not only that, but it's, his body's a little unstable for a while.
Yeah.
Like, it takes its toll. So that happening twice in such a short amount of time, and especially one of them being, I guess, a degeneration, that should be enough to be like, well, okay, that's the reason why Jodie's that's it. That's what causes her regeneration in the end. It's that she doesn't need to be lasered to the face in a big epic, which it was looking shot, CGI heavy shot.
It happened way too
Which, don't get me wrong, I actually like how, like, I love the shot of Yaz carrying the Doctor back to the TARDIS and the big laser behind him. It looks great. The CGI in this episode looks great. But you don't need it. You could just fuck all of that right off and just have that. The other thing, you don't need the Daleks in this story. Just get rid of them. They literally contribute nothing to the plot.
They are only there so that we can have a Dalek and a Cyberman look at each other and go, what? And also just so the Master can make the Master's Dalek plan joke.
And also so Ace can beat a Dalek with a
baseball bat. Yep.
Because that's what she did before. It's a reference. Don't you get it? Also, why the fuck does she have that jacket? Like, why? It's not the 80s anymore, love. Like, why would you also hide that jacket? Like, why would you put that on? Like, why? Those are the type of references in the episode that, like, that bothered me. Because, like, I was like, you literally are only putting that jacket on because you wore that jacket before, and that's it.
Hold on. We forgot one bit that I need to just... How the fuck did Tegan survive the elevator shaft?
Oh, yeah. Don't worry about it. She just did.
See, that's the kind of resolution shit that doesn't exist. She just
and like,
falls.
yeah, I just feel like you didn't need like. There's so much. You got the whole thing with the seismologist, which all just ends up being the master just giving a lecture to miniaturized seismologists for some reason. Like, he just is. Like, there's no real reasoning for that. You got the whole Rasputin thing, which you could have easily just done.
That could have just been
Like,
the
literally,
main one.
him being Rasputin only boils down to doing the dance.
Yep.
You could have just done the same thing, but with the modern day master, who I think is a better master.
Yeah.
Like, I know they needed something to get rid of Dan quickly, and I do think the reason why Dan wasn't in the story a lot, I think, just came down to John Bishop's schedule, because I think by the time they shot this, he was probably back touring again,
Yeah.
and, you know, it probably was just like, we only have him for a couple of days, we just have to get rid of him out of the story, because I do think Vinder's inclusion in this story was solely to fill that gap.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there was any reason for Vinder to be in the story. And also, he has no investment as a character in anything going on. He has no idea what's going on. And Yaz just explains it to him off screen. And then he's like, oh, the doctor's gone. Oh, okay. And then he's just, like, confused.
You know what actually would have worked better? Just bringing Graham back earlier in the episode.
Yeah, like, they should have just replaced Dan with Graham.
Because,
Like,
Graham at least has stakes in the master plotline because he was there for Spyfall.
And also, like, you know, he's off being freelance or whatever. You could have just had him be recruited by UNIT as well as Ace and Tegan. Also, Ace and Tegan, apart from having, like, scenes with their doctors,
yeah.
don't really do anything in this
not
episode.
really.
They're just there. I mean, they both contribute to the very rushed plot of Tegan saves Kate from being converted, which, by the way, that's a thing that happens in this episode. Kate starts getting converted into a Cyberman.
And then Tegan just turns off the Ethernet.
Tegan just
and then...
literally pulls out an Ethernet cable, and that somehow just kills a shard and just stops the whole thing and destroys all the Cybermen. Makes no sense, but okay, I'm gonna let that one slide. And then literally all Ace does is hit a Dalek with a baseball bat, and then I guess they blow up the volcano.
Yeah.
And then that's literally, like, and then they're just there. Like, you could take them out of the story and nothing would change.
It feels bad because a lot of the things they do, and a lot of people online have said this as well, is a lot of things they do, the Doctor should have done. Because Jodie also doesn't really do much in her own.
Well, yeah, no,
episode.
she's fucking in her head for half the episode.
Man,
like, the Master Doctor does more than what she does the entire episode.
And that just feels
and
bad.
he just runs around and just, like, yells at Yaz for a bit.
Yeah.
Kind of like how the Doctor does. It's kind of not really any different, to be honest. I do like how Chibnall had to write a scene into this episode where Yaz is like, hey, do you mind actually explaining what the fuck is going on?
Doctor
Because
still fucking doesn't.
And you know what? Look, I was ready to complain about that, but to be honest, I'm watching that Colin Baker season right now, and literally he never explains anything ever. So I'm like, okay, well, you know, at least it's in character for the Doctor not to explain things to the companion, because
13
Perry
is
always
6.
asks, literally in that season, every time Perry asks, well, what happened? He goes, I'll explain later.
Which is why
that's it.
Which, to be fair, is why Curse the Fatal Death has that fucking running joke.
There are a lot of things I like in this episode, and I want to say, like, this episode is poorly written, it is poorly paced, it's an hour and a half and yet still just doesn't work as a story. But there's a lot of great scenes and ideas, and I've always said Chibnall is good at ideas for the most part. I mean, The Timeless Child is probably the big kind of one thing that I'm like, that's not a good idea, Chibnall, that's not a good idea at all. But outside of that, like, Chibnall's really good at coming up with ideas, right?
Yeah.
He's just not good at executing those ideas in a script, in a story. And I really feel like for his era, it would have benefited from him. Because one thing I am going to give Chibnall is he's a fantastic producer. You know, he makes shit happen. He's terrible at promoting the show, but he makes shit happen, right? And I just wish this era was him being the kind of general, like, him producing the show and being the kind of, like, overseeing the direction, like, the creative direction, but not actually writing any of it.
We didn't need 70% of the scripts written by Chris Chibnall.
Yeah, especially because he's just really bad at writing scripts. Yeah. But also, by the way, like, we know he can write scripts because there are episodes of Torchwood written by him that are fucking fantastic.
Yeah, and of course, Broadchurch.
He's very good at writing real people in real situations.
Yeah, which is why his character moments, when they're relaxed, are actually really good.
Oh, yeah, when this episode slows down to just do a character moment, considering none of his characters are actually well characterized or even real characters, if we really want to go there, they're nice, they're good. Like, I cannot tell you how much I loved the final Yaz and Doctor scenes. They're just really well written, and I'm literally watching that. Like, let me tell you this, Lewin. Let me tell you this.
Yeah.
As someone who does not believe Yaz is a real character, and also doesn't believe the 13th Doctor is a real character.
Yep.
Until more recently, but, like, before then, in the Doctor's case more recently, but before then, like, she really wasn't. She was literally the bullet points of the characteristics the Doctor should have in every incarnation, and was kind of nothing more than that. Like, when you have two characters that I do not give a fuck about, do not care, I do not give a shit about either of them, and I'm watching those scenes and I'm, like, genuinely fucking sad that it's over. I'm like, I'm gonna give props to him. Well done. Good job.
Yeah.
Good job at writing an actual character scenes between two characters. Too bad it was in the last 10 minutes of your final episode, but well done. Good job. Congratulations, Chibnall. I'm very proud of you. They were good scenes. I absolutely love. The only thing I don't like is the reasoning for Yaz leaving just literally boils down to your contracts run out. And also, I don't like the Thasman baiting across all of the specials and in Series 13 because it amounted to nothing.
Like the Timeless Child.
Yeah. Also, like, I wasn't invested in that relationship whatsoever because, like I said, they're not real characters. Yeah. I was annoyed. I was like, are you kidding me? You're not going to just kiss, for fuck's sake. You've been teasing this for the last 3 fucking episodes, and you're not going to do it? I'm actually disappointed. Outside of those moments, though, I think as two friends, who, it's really hardly believable that they are friends, but as two friends sharing an ice cream on the roof of the TARDIS looking out at Earth, it's kind of a nice moment. I like it. Yeah. The Doctor's hands glowing and she's holding back the regeneration so she can have an ice cream with Yaz. It's good stuff. And then the final scene when she realizes that she's about to die and Yaz, oh my god, Mandip Girl, absolutely killing it in that scene. What a great scene. What a great scene. I love, like, I feel like the Doctor's reaction to regeneration makes a lot of sense for this incarnation. Her reaction at the start of her being like, I want more time, I need more time. But then that very quickly shifts to acceptance.
Yeah.
I think that makes a lot of sense, and I think it works. And I'm also really glad we didn't have a ridiculously long monologue or speech. I'm just glad that Jodie had, like, a few quiet little lines, and that was it. You know, like, we don't need that anymore, you know? But yeah, like, I think the last, like, what I really love, like, I love the Master, the Doctor Regen, the Doctor Master stuff. I think Sacha Dhawan fucking kills it. I think it's really great. I absolutely love his, like, line where, like, it's such a, like, an underrated moment especially considering everything else he does. But I love the bit where he's just like gets all really hype and just is like, let's go on an adventure. And then it's just very quiet all of a sudden, and he's just like, you know, come on. Like I can't remember exactly what he says, but he's like, oh yeah, and that's what he says. He says, come on, don't make me ask twice. I'd hate to have to bring you down to size. And it's like that moment, like, because up until that point, they kind of write it in a way where it's like, maybe the Doctor, it's kind of like they kind of write it as it being like this weird, like, it's the Master, but it's also kind of the Doctor at the same time. But then that line right there, where the Master just changes, just shifts, and it's just like, I will kill you. That's where you know, like, no, the Doctor is gone. Like, this is not the Doctor in any way, shape, or form. And I think that's really well done. And I love that, even though I think it's pointless in the grand scheme of things, I love that we have the Master playing these different characters. I love the scene where the Master is taken by... I love, actually, all the Master scenes in this, which is something I can't really say about the end of Series 12.
No.
I don't really like...
There's a few character moments I do like, but he's a bit too hyper.
Yeah.
He's hamming it up in a way that isn't appealing at all.
I think it works for this, though.
It works for this.
I think in this episode it works. I'm talking about, I just don't really like... Essentially because his appearance in the end of Series 12 essentially just boils down to a slideshow.
Yeah.
And him just delivering exposition, and then he acts like I don't even remember why he made the Cybermasters. He just did. You know, like, it was just, like, I liked him in Spyfall. I thought he was good in that, but I do agree with you, like, he kind of, it's very hammed up a bit, where I feel like I think the fact that he is playing different characters, because each version of him in this one story is very different. It's 3 different versions of the character, almost, like, and like, Sacha Dhawan did talk about this in that video, he talks about, like, you know, this Master really gets into his characters. Now, I want to ask you something, and we're going to wrap this conversation up soon because there's not really much else to talk about that I want to talk about. There's a couple of little things, but we'll get to them.
Yep.
But I want to ask you, why does the Master want to take the Doctor's body? What do you think? Now, he's tried to do it before, but before he was desperate to survive.
Yeah,
because he didn't in the TV movie, he didn't have a real body.
And he also required... the Doctor...
He needed the Doctor's body.
Doctor was Time Lord, half human, Eye of Harmony stuff as well.
Yeah. So, but why do you think... What is his goal? What do you think his goal is?
In terms of Dhawan's Master, I think it's purely...
what's going on? Why does he want it?
Listen, that he is a severe therapy case.
I'll tell you what the story presents. The story presents just cause.
The story presents just cause. The character kind of presents...
If you want to look at it deeper, you could think of it 2 ways. I think, and even though Chibnall said he wasn't going to wrap this storyline up and he wasn't going to do anything in it, I think it's because he wants the power that the Doctor has. Which is another play on the title. Like, the power of the Doctor refers to
the friends
the Doctor's influence on... Yeah, exactly. It's literally that. Like, that's what the power of the Doctor refers to. It refers to... the Doctor's influence over the Doctor influence people has, or whatever I'm trying to say. I get you. You know what I'm trying to say. The friends she made along the way. But another play on that is, you know, and I really thought they were going to do this. I really was hoping that Chibnall was lying earlier in the year when he said he had no plans to wrap it up. Because once I heard the name The Power of the Doctor, I'm like, well, the only other thing that makes the Doctor unique compared to any other Time Lord is the fact that regeneration is the Doctor's natural ability. So I was like, when I was like, the Master wants to take the Doctor's body, I'm like, that makes sense. I'm like, why did he do it in Series 12? I don't know, but it makes sense that the Master would want to do that, because the Master wants to live forever, and what better way to do that than take over the Doctor's body and have access to infinite regenerations, or maybe not even infinite regenerations, but the natural ability to regenerate.
Like, he can... Okay, so I subscribe to a different theory, but I'll go along with yours at the moment, or, like, your first one.
I'm just saying that's a possible reason. I mean, I feel like if this episode was really going to wrap up his era, they don't need to wrap up the Timeless Child stuff, but, like, just a simple explanation of, well, I want your power, like, regeneration comes naturally to you. That's what I want. I want that, or whatever, right?
Because Dwan's master is weirdly, and there's probably a lot of other masters, but I'm not that well versed in them, is very genetically gifted. He converted Cybermen to be able to regenerate. I'm sure he could unblock the natural regeneration limit or whatever was placed on the Doctor. So yeah, okay, I can see that. This master hates being the master. He hates everything to do with himself. He with Timeless Child stuff, he hates the fact that the part of him that is special to every other race in the universe comes from the Doctor. He is filled with self-loathing to an absolute extent that I think just the idea of him wanting to take over his best friend's body to not be that anymore, which is kind of weird when it's still him anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a weird thing, man.
I like the Master's self-loathing because it actually kind of does play off the fact that Missy was almost redeemed. Well, Missy was redeemed.
Missy was redeemed. And, like, that's also assuming that Sacha Dhawan's master comes after Missy. Because, like, I feel like I'm just going to headcanon it that that Sacha Dhawan's master is an earlier incarnation. Because, like, you can't do that to Missy and then Missy just regenerates and is like, oh, I'm back to hating the Doctor again. Like...
You see, there's a not so simple answer to that. Big Finish. There is actually an explanation for Missy surviving in Big Finish, by the way.
Okay, well, what is it? Because I don't know what it is. I'm assuming it's in that Masterful story.
No, Masterful's completely separate. Masterful's in a universe where one of the Masters actually does kill the Doctor, and the other Masters are like, oh. No, Missy Season 2 is where Missy survives by using Forbidden Time Lord technology to pretty much jumpstart a regeneration while also separating anything that was good about herself into a different form. And then that form gets killed by Missy.
Basically... Okay, so Missy is now a separate character to the Master. They're two separate characters.
Missy is still Missy. Missy killed the other one that was good. There's...
What?
There's... Missy...
Okay, well, I mean, I don't consider Big Finish canon anyway, but, like...
It's also currently the only explanation.
What? And do they actually explain this, or do they just say Forbidden Time Lord science or technology or whatever? Like, it's basically like, we're not going to actually explain it. It just happens. It's fine. See, I'm more happy with the explanation of the Master just always survives. You never see the Master survive. They just do.
Yeah, that's we all love that.
Like, you don't need to, like, why? Like, I don't know. Okay, whatever. Okay, cool. That's so dumb. Wait, so is Missy just evil now? I mean, Missy was always, like, obviously Missy is the Master, but I mean, like, she was working on being a better version of herself. So is she just not that anymore?
Tired of her dark ways and hoping to impress the Doctor, the dying Missy created the Elysian field to regenerate her body into a distillation of all her goodness. The regenerated Missy, inspired by the Doctor, went out to do good in the universe and abandoned her previous identity as the Master to go under the name of the Lumiart. I think then Missy kills the Lumiart. Somewhere in there she survives.
You just fucking blow my mind. Like, I don't know what to say to any of that. It's basically like the Valiard, but the opposite.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And this is what I said to you. But the absolute nerve of Chris Chibnall...
to make you feel things.
I fucking hate him so much. And it's because after all the shit that I have sat through for the past 5 years, and then he gives me the last 10 minutes of the power of the Doctor... And I am just like,
Whether
Are you fucking kidding me? And not only that, but also, like, we get the scenes with the classic Doctors as well. Like, they're all really well-written scenes in isolation. And obviously, I love... We talked about it already, the Guardians of the Edge. I love all that stuff. Good stuff. But, like... Oh, fuck, my headphones came out. Hold on. Hold on, give me a sec. But the absolute nerve on this man... to not write any... Fuck, why are they going back in? What the fuck? I think... Oh, I can hear you now. Good.
Hello.
The absolute nerve of this man to write absolute shit for most of his run. With just character scenes that are just stupid. Like, the scene where the Graham's like, oh, I had cancer, or whatever the fuck he says... I don't even know what he's actually talking about in that scene. And the Doctor's just kind of like...
He was scared the cancer would one day come back.
And then the Doctor's just like, oh, okay, lol. I'm just gonna ignore that. And then just... Like, you have that scene. You have the scene with Graham and Yaz. Is that at the end of Spyfall or at the end of Series 12?
No, that's at the end of Series 12. When Yaz is like... You're the most important human I've ever known.
Why? Why? What is this? Like, it's just... Oh, and also, like, I don't fucking care, but Ryan is not a character.
No.
He's not a character, and he doesn't have an arc. I'm sorry, like his whole arc is literally he can't shoot a basketball hoop, and then at the end of the season... He can shoot a bomb and blow up some Cybermen, and that's his character arc. But absolutely nothing happens to get him from point A to B. It just happens.
Yeah.
It's the same as Graham. Like, Graham doesn't... Like, Graham's the closest one of all of them to have an arc. But even then, like, he just kind of randomly is like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna kill this guy. And then I'm like, yeah, okay, fair. And then he's like... I mean, unless I'm missing something in Series 11, but, like...
Series 11 wrapped up Graham's arc in It Takes You Away, when he's forced to confront Grace in the Solar Tract universe. And then the very next episode, he's like, I'm gonna kill him, and I'm like, I fucking hate you.
Yeah, okay, cool. And the Doctor's like, I fucking hate you. Just like she's like to every... This Doctor is like, oh, I love my fam, and my fam is everything, and all that, but also just, like, absolutely fucking loathes all of them.
You're all up in my shit, get out of it.
Yeah, I don't know, like, I just... Yeah, but I, like, it's just great having all these little character scenes. And obviously, I am going to be honest, like, all the stuff that I like in this episode is also boosted by the nostalgia factor, I think, as well, to a degree. Yeah. But like I said, like... It's not just classic Doctors returning for the sake of them being there. Like, there's actually a really unique, interesting thing being done with them. And I think with the companion scene, I think it works on so many levels. One, Graham is the perfect character to start.
Yeah.
That. Like, it just makes sense that he would do that.
Yeah, it does. Like,
and, you know, I like that obviously we bookend with both Dan and Yaz being there. That makes sense. But then you have, like... Joe Grant and Ian and Mel and whatever, and like it's just a nice scene where like each of them has like a tiny little bit of dialogue. Like, I mean, in Mel and Joe's case, they have like one quick little line and that's the end of it. But like it's just a nice scene, and like the things I felt when I saw Ian Chesterton, especially someone who doesn't have that much big investment in the First Doctor era, but like just the way... it just,
as someone who just finished...
nice.
As someone who just finished William Hartnell's run for the first time, which means I'm very exposed to Ian Chesterton right now, I was so fucking happy. That was the part that actually almost brought me to tears, where I was like, oh fuck. And he's 97. He looks fucking fantastic.
And also, like, I'm pretty sure that's also just earned him a Guinness World Record as well. Yeah.
The previous one was held by someone on Coronation Street for 47 years between. He's bumped it by 11.
Yeah, I mean, it was just nice to see him. I would have liked to have seen Susan in that, but, like, you know,
Susan's
I mean, I
in the
get
future,
there's only
though.
so much time for cameos, you know.
There's also from there, like, Susan lives in post Dalek Earth.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, who cares? Like, they'll make it happen. But yeah, like, I think it was nice. Just that scene was just a nice scene. And it was one of the most, I think, moving scenes, I think, in Doctor Who history.
The most common trend of Doctor Who, probably, is the companions feeling deserted once the Doctor leaves. To have them have this place to go to where there's a lot of people who feel the same way, but they've all experienced this wonderful adventure that they can share stories about now. It's just nice.
And also, Ian Chesterton gets to learn about regeneration. Because he like, if you think about it, like, and I think that's what I love about his little line where he's like, "I'm sorry, did you say her?" Because even he probably is like, he just looks so happy, and I'm just like, for all he knows, the Doctor just was randomly like his Doctor just decided to transition. For all he knows, like, he doesn't know about the concept of regeneration. So I'm very happy that he gets to learn about that and learn about all the silly little doctors that exist.
He's like, oh yeah, they're talking about the weird time traveling man. Her, am I in the right support group?
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I mean, but I don't know, I think it's just a nice scene, and the fact that that's also intercut with Jodie's final moments as she kind of leaves. I love her line where she looks at the TARDIS and is like, "Look after the next one," and then I love the idea of her going and just seeing a sunrise. Like, it's just quiet. The blossomiest blossom, or whatever the fuck she says, it's just a weird line. I don't know why she says that.
Line, let's face it.
Like, but I love the following lines of her being like, I guess I don't, I want to know what happens next. And I mean,
Doctor
like,
whoever
you are gonna know what happens next.
It's a much more content way of Ten's way of viewing it. Of I'm dead. In the end, conceptually, this episode hits so many high points like that. It's a weird amount of character lore that hasn't existed. I love it.
And I love the scenes with the Tegan and Ace and their doctors. Even though I don't like, I feel, and again, like, I might be misremembering Tegan's departure here. So I'm not going to comment too much on it.
I think Tegan was a bit too harsh.
But I feel like it's a bit forced. The scene itself is great. Like, I like that little scene of them reconnecting, but I just feel like the whole drama side of it is really forced. And I feel the same way about Ace. And again, I'm not that versed on Ace lore. Like, believe it or not, I haven't watched that much Seventh Doctor. I've seen a couple of Seventh Doctor stories, so I'm not that well versed on Ace.
Most of it actually comes from after
extended lore and shit.
It's
but
the extended universe lore that really doesn't.
Yeah, but also with that, the feeling I get with this is like, her departure isn't really canon to any of that anyway. There was the book where Ace met the 13th Doctor and Graham and Ryan and Yaz, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Childhood's End, which is apparently fantastic.
Yeah, but in this story, she doesn't know who Graham is and hasn't seen the Doctor in like 3 decades.
Yeah.
So, it's whatever, really. But there were nice scenes in isolation. I liked them in isolation. There's a lot of good stuff in this story. And that's what I said. Like, it's surprisingly good for a Chibnall episode.
I remember my whole thing was, I'm gonna admit something. I had you on mute the entire day that episode was lined up. Because I wanted no reactions from anyone. And I had the biggest feeling from you, I would get well, that was a schlock of shit. And I was like, when I actually messaged you later and you're like, I have thoughts. I'm like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, I'll write you an essay being like, I thought that was good. And I'm like, nah, that was fucking bad. No, I wrote Twitter's exploding because Twitter was exploding at like 4 a.m. in the morning, 6 a.m. whenever it aired in the UK. I was just like, oh, Twitter's exploding. And by the way, I had the entire episode spoiled for myself on Twitter because, as you know, I went into this not giving a fuck. I just wanted to know.
I know, and that's
the regeneration.
That's why I was worried about you giving me the reaction.
No, okay. So here's the thing. Like, I was very cautious. I was like, I'm not going to spoil it for you because I know you're probably not going to watch it until that night with your family or whatever.
Yeah, I didn't have much choice anyway. I had work, so
I was like, I'm not gonna spoil it for you. I was just like, holy fuck, Twitter is exploding right now. That was the first message I said, and then I think I sent the 60th anniversary. I think I said there's a 60th anniversary trailer.
You did, yeah. Good trailer.
But yeah, like it is a good trailer. But yeah, I mean, look, if Chibnall just did more of this the entire time,
we wouldn't be
I
in
would
this
be much more happy. Exactly. All right, Lewin. So look, we've both been watching the Doctor Who.
Yes, evidently.
And we've both been watching different Doctor Who.
That's true.
I've been watching season 22 because I finally got that on Blu-ray.
Very nice.
And
some of the collections.
Yeah, I mean, I've got all the collections now except for that one John Pertwee season, but I'm pretty sure that's coming out as a standard release next month.
Yeah, I think it is, yeah.
So, I'll get that soon, and then I'll have all of it up to at least the season 2 when that comes out.
Yes, I still need to pre-order season 2.
So... yeah, so I've been watching that, and you've been watching the William Hartnell era.
I have. I've been watching seasons 1 through 4, or 1 through 3 with a bit of 4. Yeah.
Nice.
It actually surprisingly was. Not surprisingly, it had to have been good to spawn 60 years of a show. There were low points, like the Web Planet. Fuck the Web Planet. Whoever said, let's make a whole fucking 6 episodes about bugs going can fuck off. It's not a good fucking episode, serial, whatever. Rest of season 2 was fantastic.
What was the what was the gunfighters like?
Okay, so I heard a lot of bad things about the gunfighters. People say it's just downright boring. And I actually quite enjoyed it, given that, like, most of William Hartnell's era can be explained as downright boring for like modern TV. When I'm going into the lens of it of just, this is more Doctor Who, I'm like, yeah, I really enjoyed the gunfighters. It wasn't my favourite of season 3, admittedly. That went to, I think, the Ark, which they have way too many episodes with. I think it's only 2 episodes, like Ark in Space and The Ark, but I keep getting them mixed up.
What season is The Chase in?
The Chase is season 3.
Okay. I have seen that, but I only vaguely remember it. I'm pretty sure Peter Purves is in Peter Purves or whatever his fucking name.
Stephen. Yeah, it's Peter Purves playing Steve. No,
yeah,
he's not playing Stephen.
No, but he's in it. He's the guy at the
Yeah, he's a random fucking tourist at the Empire State Building at the end, who's like, oh, he's like being all gung ho as a tourist, and the Daleks come and interrogate him. And then I guess he just gets exterminated. And then in the very next episode, he comes back as Stephen, a completely different character.
Nice.
Stephen actually is my favourite companion of the Hartnell era.
Interesting. I've never seen anything with him in it, so... like,
most of the episodes with him don't exist anymore, so...
well, that explains it then.
It really doesn't help.
Like, I'm going to be real with you. I haven't seen a lot of Classic Who. Like, there's a lot of it I haven't seen. I've mostly seen the same stories over and over again.
Yeah,
I have watched... the only era I've watched in its entirety is the Peter Davison era.
Really?
That's the only era I've seen start to finish. Everything else... and that's because I went out of my way to make sure I saw every single fucking one of those. Because it's actually like my favorite era of classic Doctor Who is the early '80s with Peter Davison, and then following that up with Colin Baker.
Actually, it's like I've only seen season 19 of Peter.
I've seen all of it. At some point, like I've seen some stories more than others. Like I've seen Caves of Androzani a couple of times, and I've seen Planet of Fire a few times. But I think the reason why that's like kind of my era, because also that particular era was my first exposure to Doctor Who.
Yeah, that was like the era rerunning on TV when
ABC reruns. Yeah, I can't remember which episode was the first one I saw. I can't remember it, but I do definitely have a lot of memories of seeing. I remember seeing Kinder. I remember seeing The Awakening. Yeah, those very early days, I only really remember seeing like bits and pieces of it. And I don't think I watched the entirety era of it. I think I just kind of watched it every now and then.
Yeah.
But I definitely remember seeing The Awakening, which was a 2-part story from season 21. I remember watching the following story that came after that, which... No, hang on, I didn't, because I'm pretty sure the Dalek story is the next one after that. And then I remember watching Planet of Fire, and I remember watching Case of Androzani. And I remember stopping watching the show when the Doctor regenerated into Colin Baker, because that just freaked me the fuck out. And then I very vividly remember a couple of like nights later checking out the episode, and it's the cliffhanger, like the starting episode in the Twin Dilemma, and
So
like
you got to see him choke Perry out.
no, it wasn't that, because that's the first episode. I missed that.
Okay.
But it was one of the cliffhangers that was like the start of the episode. So I can't remember which part it is exactly, but the Doctor's like fiddling with a console and that, and I just remember seeing the costume, and I'm just like, what the fuck is this? And yeah, I just stopped watching it after that. And then I randomly picked it up. Like I said, I remember very vividly seeing part of the Mark of the Rani, the end of it, actually, specifically, because I just recently watched that, and I'm like, yeah, that's the bit I saw. It's the bit where the Master and Rani are in the TARDIS, and her TARDIS is going haywire, and there's like a fucking dinosaur or whatever. And then the next thing I remember watching was Trial of a Time Lord. So it was kind of this weird, like, kind of like watching bits and pieces on it, but I'm pretty sure I just only vaguely remember it, but I'm pretty sure I did see a lot of Peter Davison stories at the time when I was watching that. I just have very vivid memories of specific moments.
Yeah.
Not actually whether I did or not.
100% feel that, because my first exposure to Classic Who, before the reboot started airing, before Chris Eccleston, I'd never seen a full episode. There was Wallace and Gromit. The VHS had a BBC trailer segment before it, and there was a brief Peter Davison episode clip in there, and that is stuck in my mind as my first exposure to Doctor Who.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, I know I'd seen a clip of Tom Baker beforehand, and I remember my dad was like, oh, that's Doctor Who. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck that is, but it looks like shit. But, like, I very vividly remember it was a Tom Baker. Like, it was Tom Baker on screen, curly hair, scarf. I remember that. But I didn't pay attention to what my dad was saying. That was just like, oh, that's what this is. And I'm like, okay, cool. And just moved on. With my day. But yeah, and then, so yeah, my first exposure was Peter. But interestingly, as I was watching those Peter Davison ones, I was also seeing clips of Christopher Eccleston. Because on a Saturday night back then, actually, because they played them like 6 months after the fact. It was a Saturday night, and I remember seeing the end of Boomtown. And the last like 10-15 minutes of Boomtown, I actually think I was watching James Bond at the time, and the movie finished, and then so I ejected the disc and back with a lot of like DVRs and things back then, like when you eject the disc, it would go to
cut
live
straight
TV.
back to your TV.
And and I found myself just watching Boomtown. I had no idea what that show was, by the way. I didn't know it was Doctor Who. I didn't know it was the same show that I was watching at 6:30 every night after the ABC News. But I was like, this is fucking good. Yeah. And then, I don't know, the next week I caught like scenes of the Big Brother stuff. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then I never went back to it. But I remember going up and checking the program guide, the TV Week. And I was like, it said 7:30 Doctor Who. And I said to Mum, I remember saying to Mum, I'm like, isn't Doctor Who, like, because I said to Mum, I said, I thought Doctor Who was like what is this? Because I was watching Doctor Who, and I'm just like, what's going on? And I don't know why I was asking my mum, because my mum was just like, I don't know. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I didn't think about it, never thought about it again, and I just kept watching the show. And then I stopped watching, like I said, when the Doctor regenerated anyway. And then I don't know. Yeah, I was just talking with one of my dad's friends at the Model Railway Club, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll burn them all to disc for you." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, there's new ones." And then that's when I started watching Chris Eccleston's run. And it wasn't until later on I realized that I'd already seen some of this show, like the new run later on. So I was like watching Chris Eccleston Doctor Who at the time without realizing it was Doctor Who.
There's a weird amount of similarities between your exposure to New Who and my exposure to New Who. See, admittedly, I knew I was going into Doctor Who when I watched Rose, because my family, into my childhood mind, wouldn't shut up about it. I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to see what's so great. Watched Rose, loved it. Watched Enter the World, loved it. Watched Unquiet Dead, loved it. I then got too scared, and Mum made me, like, grounded me from watching the show. 2 months go by, and literally it was the upcoming trailer for Parting of Ways that was on ABC after the 7:30 news. I was like, hey, look, it's a garlic. And Mum took that as a sign that I wanted to watch Doctor Who again. I couldn't give a rat's ass. I was just like, that's the tin can thing.
That's the tin can thing.
And so I sat down and watched it, and then obviously Parting of Ways was regeneration. So I've watched 4 episodes of Doctor Who in total, watched a regeneration scene, and then I've been stuck with it since. But funnily enough, my grandfather also, when he visited Thailand, brought back a burnt, like, ripped off version of season 1. And yes, that's bootleg. How I watched all of season 1.
Bootleg. Anyway, yeah, you're watching...
I'm watching William Hartnell, and I've watched William Hartnell now.
Fuck.
And
keep going.
You good?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just literally sneezed all over my hand.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, like I picked my favorite stories and everything. The introduction of the monk, the Time Meddler, is actually my favorite of all of his episodes that I watched. The Web Planet is my least favorite, and it can fuck off. I hate the Web Planet with a burning passion. Not as much as Legend of the Sea Devils, but pretty damn close.
I've been watching season 22.
Yes.
Which is
surprisingly of your childhood nostalgia.
Yeah, I haven't seen most of this season. Like, I've seen a couple of stories. Like, I've seen the 2 Doctors. I've seen Time Lash. In fact, for the longest period of time, until I got the Trial of a Time Lord box sets, the only 6 Doctor stories I'd ever watched was Time Lash and the 2 Doctors. And I understood why the show was thought of being shit, because I was like, these are both shit. But then I watched the Trial of the Time Lord, I'm like, this is fucking great. And I think actually the Trial, you can actually tell from the state of the box that the DVDs are in. But it's my most watched classic Doctor Who story. Like, I love the Trial of the Time Lord so much. But this is my first time watching season 22 in its entirety. You know, I'd seen clips on YouTube, and I did watch a little bit of the Cybermen stuff on TV during broadcast. Can't remember what part of it I watched, but I do remember seeing that. And I do remember vaguely seeing a little bit of Vengeance on Varos. And I did, by the way, watch Vengeance on Varos years later. Like, I've seen Vengeance on Varos quite a number of times since. But Attack of the Cybermen, Mark of the Rani, and Revelation of the Daleks, which I still haven't watched, but I'm about to, now that I finished Time Latch. Those stories I've never seen in their entirety or, like, properly watched. In the case of Mark of the Rani, I've never seen anything. I had no context to what that story was about. All I knew was the Rani was in it, and there was that scene with the Rani's TARDIS, which I love the Rani's TARDIS a lot, but, like, that's all I knew about it. So when I watched the episode and it's in some random fucking village and the entire first episode is just Anthony Ainley just like creeping around the village for 45 minutes, I was just like, this is fucking weird. This is not what I thought this was going to be at all. It's fucking
I've
banger
never
of a story.
I've never fully, like... I think I've seen... Mark of the Rani is Sylvester McCoy's first episode, isn't it?
No, Mark of the Rani is the Sixth Doctor one. And then Time in the Rani is Sylvester McCoy's first episode.
Oh, okay. Time of the Rani is the one I've seen. I've not seen Mark of the Rani then.
Mate, you need to watch it. You got the season 22 box set. Get on
I
it.
do.
Just Anthony Ainley just creeping around a village is just amazing, because that's literally that's all he does the entire story. He's just there creeping around, and then he like hypnotizes one guy and does some stuff, and then he like tries to team up with the Rani, and the Rani's like, no, like, you're the master. Why the fuck would I even associate with you? Like, both you and the Doctor are just fucking just no. It's a good. It was definitely not what I was expecting. I will say that.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, it's a good season. Like, I actually think it's mostly a good season. Like, I don't know why people hated it so much. I mean, and I just love, like, the Dr. Perry's relationship is, like, my favorite thing. Because, like...
the absolute abuse. It's Yaz and 13.
It is Yaz and 13. It really is. But here's the thing. I think the Doctor shows a much more affection for Perry than she does for Yaz. Like, I mean, obviously it starts out on a bad note with, like, obviously him strangling Perry. But, like, in the following stories, like, just the sass. Like, Perry gives him a lot of sass. Like, and the Doctor's kind of oblivious to it, but also, like, my favorite thing is actually in Time Lash, where, like, the Doctor's just saying shit, and Perry's like, is that bad? And he just stops, and he's like, bad? And then it's like, pauses for a moment, and then he's like, bad? And then he's like, bad? And he's like, you don't seem to understand the blah, 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 blah. And Perry's like, clearly, or, like, whatever. It, like, that happened multiple times in that series, where, like, Perry would say something, and the Doctor would just be like, fucking what? And then,
Fucking donkey.
oh yeah, they go fishing at one point at the start of the Two Doctors, I think. That's why Perry's in that skimpy outfit. It's because at the start of the episode she's in a bikini. They really sexualized Perry. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, she's always got a fucking cleavage showing. I mean, Peter Davison's Regeneration is famous for just being basically a close-up of Perry's boobs. But, like, it's really interesting. Like, she's in really skimpy outfits or, like, really sexualized outfits. And then in Time Lash and Revelation of the Daleks, she's just not. Like, it's really weird.
The producers weren't feeling it that day.
Like, she's wearing more clothes than she does in the rest of the series. She's more covered up. And then, of course, in Trial of a Time Lord, they went in a different direction with her. And they, because I'm pretty sure she requested, actually, not to be wearing those kind of outfits. So they kind of gave her something different to wear. But, yeah,
She died in the first episode.
No, she does it in the second story.
Does she die in the second story?
No, the first story is with the robot. And then the second story is with, the second story is the one where they go to that planet where the guy
turns out to be Earth.
No, that's the first story.
I swear she died in the first story.
No, she didn't. Look, I've seen Trial of a Time Lord so many times.
Okay,
I can
yeah,
tell
look,
you
I'll
for a fact
yeah.
it's not the first story. Like, this isn't
Master
a case.
bombarded Earth with a second planet. Okay.
Yeah, I was just gonna say this. This isn't a case where I can't tell you 100% certainty that didn't happen. Like, I can tell you for 100% certainty that she did not die in the first story. That was the first story, and then the second story is the one with Syl on the planet with the pink water, and then that's the story she dies in. But then she doesn't actually die because it's revealed that that was just a trick by the Valyard, and she's actually married the big fucking barbarian guy and is living out her days.
In my mind, I completely mixed Mind Warp and the Mysterious Planet together. Whoops.
Yeah. But that's that. And I mean, yeah, you could, but she's got different outfits. She has like this weird, like, fucking white pinstripe suit.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah. I also like the only thing I haven't watched from the season 22 box set is the Jim will fix it Sontaran thing yet. I haven't watched that yet. Also, Tegan talking about, I haven't seen the Doctor in fucking whatever years. Fucking meets the Sixth Doctor. What are you talking about, Tegan? I like how Tegan just turns up in the TARDIS and she's like, oh, whatever. The Doctor's like, oh, you're here. and then the behind the scenes reason is John Nathan Turner wanted to force Nicola Bryant to do it, and she was like, I'm not doing it, and I'm gonna go on a holiday with my husband. And John Nathan Turner's like, well, you know, that's fine, I can just replace you. We'll get Janet Fielding to do it because she says yes to everything. Actually, really interesting watching behind the scenes stuff for that era because, oh boy.
I am so curious to see what they do for the season 2 box set, given that, you know, not a lot of people are alive.
In conversation with
William. Just with William Russell. Did you say her? That's the entirety of...
Yeah. But yeah, we're both watching Doctor Who at the moment, so that's kind of cool. I don't know what season I'm going to go to next. I might actually just continue the Colin Baker run and just go right through to watch Trial of the Time Lord, because I haven't actually watched the Blu-ray version of that yet, so
Yeah.
I might just finish it. Fuck it.
We'll just do the whole
I don't think I'm going to do Sylvester McCoy for a while. I think I'll wait until his middle season's available, and then I'll just watch
25
through.
is missing.
Yeah, I'll just watch through all of that when that becomes available. But yeah, we've been watching Doctor Who, we've been watching all that stuff. But I want to know, Lewin, what you've been up to lately. What have you been up to? What have you been playing, watching, doing?
You see, that's evidently I've been watching William Hartnell, go on for years about that. I'm halfway through Tomb Raider 2013, that game you love so much.
It's a good game. It's in my top 10.
I'm liking it better this time around.
Good.
Which is more than I can say for the last 10 years. So,
well, I mean, you just gotta go into it with the right attitude, you know?
I just need to not be negative doing it.
Exactly.
Look,
listen. Chibnall era isn't bad, okay? You're just being negative.
Alright, 13 Stan, calm down.
Like, it's RTD that's bad, alright? He's overshadowing Jodie Whittaker's exit, and, like,
What's
it's just
Russell?
absolutely offending to me that they're already promoting the new era when she just left, and they should be respectful to Jodie Whittaker, alright?
I watched season 1 of Sex Education.
Yeah.
Starring Ncuti Gatwa.
Oh.
Of Sex Education fame, because he's not famous for Doctor Who yet. No, I'm really, because I did mention to you off air that I watched the first episode a bit. Didn't enjoy it. Thought it was a bit too teen sex.
It reminds me a lot of like Skins. like early skins?
Never seen it. No idea what you're
Okay,
on.
that's fine then. It reminds me a lot of skins. Let's just leave that there.
But yeah, it was like I finally got through the first episode, got into the main season, and I was actually like, oh,
And then you realize just
there's depth.
Eric has like such a fantastic storyline in season 1.
Yeah, it was like I was like semi taking it seriously. Like there's the whole Otis
Maeve thing.
Otis
going
Maeve
on.
thing. Admittedly, I'm biased because I don't really care about Asa Butterfield as an actor, so that didn't help.
Look, to be honest, I've never seen him in anything other than Sex Education, so...
Fair enough. But, like, when I got to the middle of season 1, and it was Eric's birthday, and he gets beat up for, you know, dressing up for Hedwig and the Inch, I was like, oh, fuck. They're letting the character actually get the consequence. Like, not consequences, that sounds like they deserve it. That's wrong. But, you know, like... This is something that actually happens to people who are gay, trans, cross-dressing, whatever. This is something that happens, and you never see the characters experience those.
Yeah,
So-
because they're not real people.
Yeah, so to have it suddenly be like him from the comic relief gay character to actually having someone beat him up for being that way, I was like, oh, this show is serious about its topics.
Yeah,
And then
yes,
it-
it is.
It just keeps going with that. Like, it's funny, but a lot of it is actually dumbed down to, well, not dumbed down, hined up to, like, yeah, this is a major, teens have sex, drugs are a thing, people's parents walk out on them, and it treats it all seriously. I was like, oh, perhaps I judged you too harshly.
Yep.
In the
Yeah.
end, thoroughly enjoyed it. Eric is a fantastic character. Otis is a bitch, and Maeve is Maeve.
Maeve is Maeve.
Then I forgot to add this to the list. I'm not gonna go in depth about it at all because otherwise I'm not gonna shut up. I've watched all 6 seasons of Riverdale. Oh boy,
Yuck.
I can go on forever about the plot of that show, or the lack thereof. But
That show completely lost me after like season 3. I think season 3 is the one where they have like the weird like kind of cult thing
the
going
D&D
on.
cult, yeah.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
The G&G cult in
Yeah.
that one.
I kind of lost track of what the fuck was going on in that show.
I
'cause it
forced
starts getting-
myself.
Because here's the thing about it, and look, I don't know nothing about the Archie comics, but like that, it starts to get like really weird and supernatural in season 3. Like the first 2 seasons are very grounded, and
Yeah,
then
just serial killers
you know
and
it's
shit.
kind of mostly about like a bunch of fucking teenagers and like I don't know, like a murder or whatever, and then
Yeah.
like there's and a bikie gang and just all shit like that, and then all of a sudden you get to season 3 and there's this like weird fucking D&D cult and some weird like supernatural shit's happening, and I'm just like, what?
But
the
they never say that supernatural stuff is actually supernatural. But come so there's a time skip after season 4 that makes them adults.
Yeah, I remember there was been a time skip, although they look exactly the same.
Yeah, exactly. But they got in season 6. There's fucking superpowers.
What the fuck? Are you serious?
No, I am serious. There is superpowers. There is witchcraft. There is a
Holy
comet becoming.
shit.
It goes fucking off the rails.
Wow.
And because the end of season 6 resets the entire show for the final season, so now the universe is set in the 1950s for real this time, and they're all teenagers again.
What the fuck? Like, because I thought it was weird already that Sabrina was a spin-off of Riverdale, and I just thought, oh yeah, that's a comic book thing.
Yeah, no, that
You know.
actually comes into play in Riverdale season 6 as well. It goes fucking insane.
That is so weird. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
I'm
Well,
not
I'm
gonna
not gonna
go in
watch the
depth.
rest of that. I'm not gonna watch it. I don't care. It's fine. I like it's funny because every time there's a new season of Riverdale on Netflix, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll watch it, and then I just never do. You know, like the last one I watched was season 3, and I was just like, okay, cool, I'm done with this show. And to be honest, I was only watching it as a guilty pleasure. Like I didn't think it was a very good show. I was just like,
It's not a good show.
you know, I like the actors in it. I'll just keep watching it. I'm pretty sure I was crushing on fucking Camilla Mendez anyway. I think that's her name. Is that her name?
Yeah, I think so. The girl who plays Veronica.
Yeah. The one who I thought looked like Jenna Coleman for a very long time. That's probably why I was crushing on her. And then I randomly looked at her one day and I was like, actually, you don't look like her at all. It was weird.
Emma Mackey all over again.
Yeah, look. Yeah, okay.
It's. I will say one thing about it. There's a blatant. One of the people's superpowers is they can go back and forwards in time.
Nice.
Jughead can read minds.
Why the fuck can Jughead read minds? What
Oh
the
no, that's
fuck?
not the only thing he can do. He can create portals as well. Also,
What?
Jughead is a multiversal constant. There's 3 versions of
He's
Jughead.
literally just the fucking nerdy guy who has like fucking really deep
Come-
fucking like what? Oh god!
Come season 6, Jughead is he is the narrator. Like, not in the sense that you know how he narrates every season. The narrator is a physical character who oversees everything.
And that's
He is-
Jughead.
It's Jughead. He writes all of Riverdale to keep the universe stable in a bunker in another universe. And then he's just Jughead in another universe. Also, when the universe got reset to the 1950s, he's the only one who remembers the 2010s timeline.
That's just so weird.
Jughead has a brief moment where, in order to survive the final battle of season 6, which I won't go into, Jughead has to die. He dies. The girl keeps going into the future, and he word for word goes, "In how many of those how many of those timelines do I survive?" And so that they don't get, he's like, "How many of those universes did you see?" And she's like, "Oh, 14,000 something." And he's like, "How many of those do I survive?" And she's like, 2. Just blatantly ripping off fucking Infinity War.
Yeah, Jesus.
It's not a good show. So yeah, what have you been watching?
Yeah. Wow. I kind of want to watch it now, to be honest. I kind of feel like this just sounds so fucking insane.
I can't
Like, is
recommend
any
it.
of this in the comics? Like, what?
In a sense, but the comics are like really isolated, so they don't really matter.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
Yeah, there's another universe where all of Riverdale is a comic book, and that's how one of the Jugheads knows exactly what's gonna happen.
But how can it be a universe if it's a comic book? Or is it like a universe where like it's a comic book and Riverdale doesn't actually exist as a place, and like those
Yeah, so
characters don't exist in that universe?
Those characters exist in that universe, however, they all live in the chocolate shop in the sky. Literally, it's a name, I'm not kidding. And they just spend their times living their ideal happy-go-lucky diner life, while Jughead reads Riverdale as a comic.
Yeah, like apart from that, is there anything else you've been watching that you want to talk
She-Hulk,
about?
but
or-
let's not get into She-Hulk. It's good,
Oh, yeah.
I enjoy it, but I know you're not a fan.
Well, I mean, I haven't watched it.
I know you're not a fan of
Am
Marvel
I
things
going
that
to?
much
If I,
anymore.
am I going to watch it? I was keen to watch it, but mostly for Tatiana Maslany. And the one thing I have heard about the show is she is good. But
Now, hold on, can you answer one thing for me?
Yes,
She's in Orphan Black, isn't she?
yeah, she is.
Yeah, okay, I figured if anyone could answer that for me, it'd be you, since I know that at one point, maybe still is, that was your favourite show of all time.
It is. It's. Oh no, sorry, no. Arcane is. Sorry,
There we go.
Arcane, then Orphan Black. Yeah. But she plays all the clones.
Yeah, okay. Because I was
passing
She's
by
like the
Orphan
main
Black
like
briefly.
5 characters of that show. That's why. Yeah.
I was just passing by it briefly, and I was like, I thought I saw the name correctly, and then I completely dismissed it, and then I just put it out of my mind. Then I was like, oh wait, no, if anyone's gonna know, Lara will.
Oh, it's such a good fucking show. I need to rewatch it. Well, what else?
That's
Yeah.
pretty much it for me. What about you?
I have been doing all sorts of things, Lewin. Too much to talk about, to be completely honest with you. But I'll start with the easy one first. The easy, just
Okay.
quick, get it out of the way. Destiny 2. I've been playing some Destiny 2 again. It's Season of Plunder, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a pirate-themed season.
Okay.
This season actually, it's almost at an end. Actually, it ends in December, and then the next season starts before Lightfall comes out next year. You've there's a couple of seasonal activities you got to do, and one involves raiding a pirate ship in space, and you have to like jump from one ship to the other, and then you got to defeat the enemies on the pirate ship, and then that gives you the coordinates to some treasure. So then you've got to do the activity where you go to whatever place it is that week, and you've got to kind of like gather all the treasure. And then at the end of the event, you find the chests, and the chests contain items and loot and shit like that, and you get that by fusing the coordinates with another thing that you get, which reveals treasure on a map. And so if you did that before you do the event, you can then get the treasure at the end of the event and whatnot. But then they have a third weekly event, which is where you have to take down a pirate lord, and that's where you have to like kind of it's basically like Destiny's like Lost Sectors. It's basically like that, but there's just a big boss at the end, and he's a pirate lord you got to take down. Aramis is back, and she was the villain of Beyond Light, and she's back because of course she is, because no one dies in Destiny, except Cade 6. Cade 6 dies, but everyone else is fine. They always just come back.
It's okay. It was the same reason as Yaz. The contract was up, and he didn't want to renew it.
Yeah, well, it's funny because that wasn't even Nathan Fillion in that DLC. It was Nolan North that voiced Cade 6.
Right.
It was so jarring to go from Nathan Fillion as Cade to just suddenly Nolan North, because I'm like, it just sounds like Nolan North, and you're already in the game too. There's like literally a scene where I'm pretty sure there's like actually dialogue between Cade 6 and the Ghost, and I'm like, these are both just Nolan North talking to himself. Like, it's weird. Yeah, Season of Plunder. It's pretty good. There's a lot of like pirate-themed loot, pirate weapons. It's all a bit of fun. Been enjoying it. Been playing a bit on and off. I haven't been like consistently playing it every week. But the other thing I've been doing is and this is a bit old news now because it's been out for a couple of months, but I've been replaying quite a bit of Cyberpunk recently with the new patch 1.6, which is also known as the Cyberpunk Edgerunners update. It's really good. It's really good. Really enjoying it. I mean, I was playing through the game anyway, so like it wasn't this big deal, but the Edgerunners update just has a lot of just nice quality of life things in it. Like, for example, there's the transmog system now in the game.
Yeah.
The wardrobe, so now I can dress however I want. Because before, what I would do is I would wear whatever I want just to look cool, and then when I did a mission, I would change out all of my gear to whatever was the best, do the mission, and then change back. Doesn't matter, you're in first person, you never see it, but that's what I did before, where now I don't have to worry about that. You have outfits, so you can just equip whatever the fuck you need, whatever gives you the best stats, or whatever you want, and then you can just make like little outfits now, which is pretty cool. I've actually forgotten everything else they introduced in that update. There was a few other things they introduced. There was obviously some new quests and things. It's been a while, so like I can't really remember. Like the transmog system was like the big thing.
Yeah.
But I do remember the trailer for it, though. They literally showed nothing from the update. It was literally just a trailer for Edgerunners mixed in with like them recreating shots from Edgerunners in game with like V and that. But the Edgerunners quest is pretty cool. Like, it's a short little quest. You basically, like, see this BD, and it's basically, like, the opening scene of Edgerunners, and then you get a text from one of the characters, Falco from Edgerunners, who's actually voiced by Matthew Mercer, by the way.
Yay.
And you don't actually talk to him in the game, though. It's just a text conversation in the game, but in the show, he's voiced by Matthew Mercer.
Okay.
But he sends you a text saying, well, look, David and a crew, we don't run anymore. We're out of the game. But I've left you something with this fixer. I'm sure David, I'm sure you can put to good use or whatever. And it's just David's jacket from the show. But you can also find Rebecca's weapons. And no joke, like, you can get Rebecca's shotgun, and it is the best gun in the game. Like, it is ridiculous. It is so crazy. And also there's another couple of Rebecca's weapons in the game as well. And a lot of other, like, little secrets and things, like hidden stuff. But that, of course, came out to coincide with the release of Cyberpunk Edgerunners on Netflix, which is a show I watched, and I'm gonna be honest, it is a pretty fucking good show. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
It is fucking insane.
I've heard a lot of people saying this.
Like, it is insane, but you know, like, it's Studio Trigger. I don't really know anything Studio Trigger's done. I'm not that well versed in anime.
I am very well versed in Studio Trigger, and it's their go-to. They are insane people.
Yeah, so one thing I know about Studio Trigger is they go to space a lot.
Have you seen Star Wars Visions?
No, I did watch that. But that's the one where they're, like, fighting on the fucking ships in space, right?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. But I do know, like, it seems like to be, I think someone was talking about this in a review for Cyberpunk Edgerunners, in, like, all of their shows, they just go to fucking space. And what's interesting about this is, and a lot of people talked about this, and again, like, I don't have the reference, I only know secondhand knowledge from what I've seen people talk about, but apparently, like, yeah, they had to kind of really rein it in, because it is set in Night City, and it is very much like, it is a pre-existing thing that they're kind of putting their own spin on. But reining it in doesn't stop them from going absolutely insane with this show. Like, this show is fucking crazy. And it's also, like, really well written, amazing character writing. Like, my biggest gripe with the show, like, just from a character perspective, is the main characters of the show outside of, like, David and Lucy, who are, like, the two main... Who, by the way, Lucy is the best fucking Cyberpunk character. Like, if you thought Judy was my waifu before, Lucy's my waifu, and she's actually a waifu too, because she's in an anime. Lucy and David are kind of the main characters of the show, and I would even argue Lucy is more the main character of the show than David is. So a lot of time goes into them more than the other characters, and that doesn't mean the other characters are, like, one-dimensional or anything like that, but it does mean, you know, I remember finishing the show and just being an emotional wreck, because that's what this show does to you. This show just completely destroys you in those last few episodes. And I just remember thinking, though, I was like, man, I really wish we just spent more time with some of these characters. Because you spend a lot of time with them to a degree, but, like, I really wish we got scenes like we did with David and Lucy, but with some of these other characters. But, like, at the end of the day, like, it's a very fast-paced show. It's only 10 episodes, and a lot happens in 10 episodes. Like, a lot. So, you know, I mean, it is what it is, I guess. But that's, like, my big kind of gripe with it. Other than that, like, I just think it's a fucking really well-written story. Like, one thing I like is... I love the game a lot. And I really don't want to say this, but it explores... My biggest problem with the game in terms of its story is it doesn't go too in-depth on the kind of themes that it's exploring in terms of the main story campaign.
Yeah.
Like, the side mission stuff the side mission stuff can get pretty deep, but, like, the main campaign's pretty basic. and the show does what I wish the main campaign did. I've been watching a lot of Korean shows, Lewin.
As you do.
Yeah,
As you do.
Yeah.
At some point in our life, we all turn to Korean shows.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can see why. They're fucking good.
Honestly, my main exposure is Squid Game, but yeah, that is good, so point taken.
I have watched a few different Korean shows, actually. I did watch this show about time travel, which was pretty cool.
Mm.
It was fucking long, though. It was like 16 episodes. And like
what's
each
it called?
episode... I'll link it to you after, because
Okay.
I
You know I like
don't know
me
the
some
name.
time travel, if you couldn't guess by my favorite show of all time.
Yeah, I'll link it after, because it's pretty good, but it's really long. But it's also like... It's like... There's like these future scenes, and the future scenes are just like literally like The Last of Us, but Korean. Like, it's really interesting, but it's not like a zombie apocalypse or whatever, and it's not like a worldwide thing. Like, it's very specifically like Korea's fucked in the future, and it's like The Last of Us. And then they go back in time to the present day, and there's a whole thing. But it's like a long-ass series.
Okay.
It's like 16 episodes. Each episode is like an hour to an hour and 20 minutes. Like, it's a lot. And it took me a long while to watch it. But it was good. I liked it. I didn't like it as much as the other series that I want to talk about. But I did enjoy it. And... you know, like it didn't quite grab me as much as first because it is so long and there's so much going on. Like, it takes a while to kind of get into gear a little bit. But once it does, it doesn't really fucking stop that much, you know? Like, it's a lot. Yeah, like it was decent. And so yeah, I'm going to move on to some more Korean shows, because one thing I've realized is, after watching this show, is I have not watched a single bad Korean show, and I have not watched a single bad Japanese show, whether that be Alice in Borderland, which is the only live-action Japanese show I've watched, or whether it's be whatever limited anime I've watched. Every single one of the things has been good. And considering after the last 5 years of Doctor Who and Obi-Wan Kenobi earlier this year and all this Marvel shit that's going on at the moment, like...
You've made up
I
your
don't know.
mind. You're moving to
I just-
Japan.
Yeah, I'm moving to Japan. I don't know, like, I just been watching this Korean shows. I'm like, fuck, this shit's just so much better. Like, why can't we do shows like this? Like, why am I... And case in point is My Name, which is a show I showed you the trailer of.
Yes, it looks very good.
It is very good. It's a short miniseries too. Like, I think it's only like maybe 7 or 8 episodes, something like that. It is really good. It is. It's basically the basic premise of the show is you kind of follow the main character, the main girl character. She's essentially like when she's a little bit younger, when she's like a teenager, her father's like a member of like the mob or whatever, right? And like he's killed, and so she joins, like she trains up with the mob to find her father's killer, and then they essentially find out that her father's killer is actually a police officer. So she becomes a cop. And it basically just leads to her being a detective on the drug squad. And so, like, you have this kind of, like, 3-way thing going on where you have, like, she's a detective on the drug squad who are kind of, like, on this case, which they're after actually the leader of the mob, like, that she's in, who's, like, a father figure to her now. And so they're after him, and so she's obviously on the police force, but she's loyal to the mob, to the gang, right? So she has to kind of balance her loyalties, but also she's on her own mission. Like, she's there for her own reason. She's going to find her father's killer and, you know, get revenge and whatever. So it's like there's this like kind of like 3-way thing, and she's constantly being pulled in the 3 different directions, and there's a lot of twists. Yeah, it's just a good fucking show. A good bit of drama. I love a good bit of drama.
Okay. After the trailer, I do want to watch it. So
yeah, it's good writing. A lot of good writing, good characters.
That's something I haven't seen in many a moon.
Yeah, I almost forgotten what good characters look like, to be honest.
Good writing too.
Yeah, but like it's just a cool little show, and the action in it is really well done as well. Like it's got really great action as well. And yeah, like I said, just a lot of twists and turns. Like it's just a really well-written drama, well-written character drama, a lot of character moments, and it's the type of show that does the type of thing I like. Just like actually taking time to have just characters just have moments with each other, rather than it just be constantly like drama, plot. Like actually just having characters do things. And then yeah, just the drama. Like I'm not gonna spoil anything in case you do watch it, but yeah, I watched that recently, and I was just like, that was kind of the big turning point for me, where I was like, fuck, I need to watch more Korean shows, because this is just too good. That's it, that's all I'm going to say about it. Because, and I have a massive crush on Han So-hee, who plays the main character, and she's fucking awesome, and I love her.
And it's the list.
Yeah, add it to the list. Just add it to the list, it's fine. She's just so badass. She's so cool. Other than that, like I've been playing Gotham Knights recently, today actually. That's because I got it yesterday. I'm not gonna say how, but I got it. And I've been playing that, and honestly, I'm gonna be real with you, Lewin. I'm gonna be real with you.
Yes.
Even though we've already had this conversation. It's not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. In the sense that, like, it's not bad, it's just, it's not, like, it's not anything to write home about, you know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of, like, it's fun for what it is. I'm enjoying playing it. Like I said, I've only played one of the characters. I've only played Batgirl. I have not played any of the others.
Nor do you
But I'm
really plan to.
No, probably not. I might try Red Hood a bit, but, I just don't want to grind to level up the characters. I think doing that once is enough. But yeah, it definitely does play like a live service game, and I definitely feel like this was at one point a live service game, and then, because we know this was in development before Avengers came out, and I think Avengers releasing and kind of flopping the way it did, I think that probably scared them off actually doing that, so they then reworked the game to just be a single player action RPG. And so now all those live service elements are just kind of like RPG elements, but it just kind of feels weird because they're just kind of out of place. Like it just feels weird. Like I don't know why like games, like why can't we just have a good single player game anymore? Why does every fucking game have to have RPG elements and like leveling systems and gear and crafting and all of this shit? Like why can't I just play a single player game? Like I just want to play a single player game. I don't want all this other shit. And it's definitely obvious that it was live service originally, just in terms of like how the open world works. It's very much like here's all your like random crimes and things happening, and you have to go stop them, and it's really more about grinding the open world than it is about kind of anything interesting or dynamic or whatever happening there. But I will say, like, I'm actually enjoying the combat of it. Like it feels weird to play compared to the Arkham games, and obviously the Arkham games are the kind of natural comparison people are going to make with this. It plays a little differently, but also kind of the same. Like, it's very clearly built off the back of that franchise, that series. But it is a bit different, and enemies have health bars, and multiple layered health bars that you've got to take down.
How spongy are they?
It depends on what difficulty you have it on.
Yeah, fair enough. Oh, God.
Yeah, it's very much like, it's artificial difficulty. I think a lot of like these kind of RPG games are doing this, where it's like the difficulty isn't really in how hard the actual encounters are. It's more difficulty just comes from how much health they have. And yeah, there's a few different enemy types, but like they're pretty easy to take down if you're playing on easy, like I am, because I'm not fucking doing that shit. I just want to play the story. And people are saying it's a really good story, and I have to say, like, so far it hasn't been too bad. I think, one thing I was really worried about going into this game was because it's focusing on the Bat family. I was really worried that they were gonna make them kind of like all like modern and relatable and cringy, and especially coming off the back of Saints Row. Like, I was very much expecting that. But they're actually pretty decent. They've got a lot of like really cool little interactions with each other, and yeah, they're like there hasn't been a single moment of cringe in the entire game, which has been nice. But yeah, the story is it's Court of Owls, which is obviously traditionally a very Batman thingy. So it's going to be interesting how I haven't even gotten to that stuff yet, but it's going to be interesting how that kind of like ties in with the Bat family. And Batman is in the game. I mean, briefly, but he is in it. And the game starts with like a fucking 10-minute long cutscene. Oh, like, I remember sitting there and I'm like, I feel like it's been like 10 minutes and I still haven't played any of it yet. And that's because a lot of the opening is dealing with the opening. Spoilers for Gotham Knights. The opening is Batman's death, but it's like this massive long fucking fight scene in the Batcave with Ra's al Ghul that just goes on for so long, and then finally, like, he destroys the Batcave, and then it kind of picks up from the perspective of the Bat family. But so far, I'm enjoying it. I have to say, I'm enjoying it.
Glad you are, because I've not seen as positive a spin on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the general consensus that I've seen is like the story's pretty good, but it's just everything else that's kind of like, and the open world stuff would definitely hold me back if I wasn't playing on very easy, where it only takes a couple of hits to take down anyone. The grindy stuff, it's definitely like artificial grind. Like, it's not like real grind. It's very artificial and very, I don't know how I feel about it. And I think it's fine now at this early stage in the game. Like, those first few hours, it's not a big deal. But I think once we start getting into it, like 20, 30 hours, and we're still doing this open world shit, it's going to be a bit much by then. So we'll see how it goes. I'm just more here for the story at this point. But that's my take after a few hours. Early days.
Early days. What can change?
Exactly. We might log in. We might do the next podcast, and I'll just be like, I fucking hate this game. It's fucking shit. Don't like it.
Never
Worst
again.
Game. But I mean, it can't be any worse than Saints Row, surely.
The game I was so excited for, and now I just don't want to pick it up at all.
Oh, don't bother. Like, don't spend money on that. Like, don't even bother. That brings us to the end of the episode. A big Power of the Doctor episode, among other things. We don't have Doctor Who to talk about next time, so we'll have to think of something. We'll probably just go back to our normal, like, random talking about shit.
Yeah, we will catch you all on the flip side, and hopefully
catch you on the flippity flip.
Flip. It's 1 a.m. See you all.
I was thinking of the scene from The Office.
That's the one I always think of when I say catch you on the flip.
Actually, hold on. Just quickly before we end it, I know you thought you were getting excited. We're about to end it. I just want to say I finally finished Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh, nice. What'd you think?
And I was not expecting that final season to kind of go the way it went.
No, none of us were, but the final episode's really hard. It's really touching.
Well, the final episodes were good, yeah, but I like how they like brushed over the COVID thing very quickly. It was like a cold open, and then after that it was just like
business as usual.
Yeah, it was an interesting season because I felt like because of the subject matter it was dealing with, it just kind of, I think they did it in a really well, like a really good way, but it didn't feel the same as the other seasons.
No, yeah.
But whatever.
I very much love Brooklyn Nine-Nine, so.
I have. But I finished it and I was like, yeah, that was good. It was good.
Catch you on the flippity flip.
Cool. Yeah, we'll see you next time, whenever that is.
Indeed.